Okay, sure. Right. And I'm not able to. Yeah, please allow me. Yeah, thank you very
I'm
much.
allowing, sir.
Sure, sure, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Okay. Just 1 second. Sir, are you able to see my screen? Rudresh, sir, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. It is clear, sir.
It is clear. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So namaskar, Dr. Rudresh Lakshmi Narayan ji. So my subject of research was study on Rahu Ketu positions with specific references to the Vedic horoscope. Now Rahu and Ketu generally have been difficult to do the predictions basis on Rahu and Ketu, because Rahu and Ketu, first of all, they are not lords of any of the houses. So the lordships, the functions defined by the lordships of the planet doesn't work on the Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are themselves not planets, so it's very difficult to figure out whether an aspect on Rahu and Ketu or an aspect by Rahu and Ketu on other planets would that work or not, because different scriptures have got different opinion about it. So this topic has always interested me, trying to understand more about Rahu and Ketu. So my research is around these two planets and trying to see what are the kind of outcomes that we see when the Rahu and Ketu Mahadasha is running for different natives. Okay, so that's about the research topic. This is the table of contents. We got research methodology, then problem statement, hypothesis, data collection, organization, the distribution of the data, distribution of the Rahu Ketu placement in these charts, then data analysis, then correlation, and then finally this is the conclusion. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Research methodology. So first one is problem was defined, and the problem was that we don't really understand how Rahu and Ketu behave and what is the outcome of the Mahadashas that are running for Rahu and Ketu in a natives chart. So every time it's a Rahu Mahadasha, before I did the study, I was struggling to figure out, whether it's going to be a good period or a bad period for the native. And Rahu Mahadasha is a very long Mahadasha, right? So generally people would look at the Antardasha period and they'll try to figure out what's going on. Now, when it is Rahu under Rahu, it becomes even more difficult to say anything about it, because you don't have an Antardasha of the remaining 7 planets. And as I said, the remaining 7 planets, the advantage is that they have a function provided to them because of being lords of certain houses, right? So because of which you can figure out what kind of results the individual can see. But when it is Rahu, Ketu, it becomes even more difficult to predict for those people, right? So problem was defined. Second, purposive sampling was applied, which meant that I did not do a random sampling. I looked for 50 records. These 50 records are public figures, so it is secondary data. And these public figures had Rahu Mahadasha or Ketu Mahadasha that ran for them for a period. And I looked for those records only where the public information was available during that period. So let's say, somebody did very well, during 1980s and Ketu Mahadasha was running, right? So I looked for these public figures, not specifically looking for people who have done well or who have not done well, but public figures who had Rahu Ketu Mahadasha running, and we had some information available for them during that period. So that was the that is how I selected my data. So it was very difficult to get 50 such records with public information available. Right now, I looked at Astrosage, and Astrosage gives a rating of the data. So just give me 2 minutes. Sorry for a little distraction. So now Astrosage gives a rating to the data. So wherever they say accurate data, that is the only chart. Those are the only charts that I picked up, assuming that those charts are accurate as per their rating. And so that was the approach that I had applied. Now enough attention, enough attention is paid on to ensure that public figures come from different backgrounds. So I made sure that I do not just look for only the actors, only the politicians, or only a specific profession. I look for public figures, from a variety of professions. Placement of Rahu and Ketu. So I made sure that I get 1-7, I get 2-8, I get 3-9, I get 4-10, I get 5-11, 6-12, and then reverse 7-1, 8-2. for the Rahu and Ketu placement. So I tried to cover all the 12 placements of Rahu and Ketu to make sure that the study is complete in that sense. Now, exceptions have been further analyzed in appendix. So, of course, not all the outcomes were as per the hypothesis or against it. Some of them were exceptions, and then they were further analyzed, and there was second level of analysis performed, which I have further elaborated upon in the appendix section. Okay. Right, now, this is the problem statement and hypothesis. So Rahu and Ketu, two ecliptic nodes as per Vedic astrology, and have not been assigned any lordships. Now, since they are not lords of any bhava, it is extremely difficult to determine their impact on the lives of people during their Mahadasha periods. Now, as per the text available, what we see is that Upachaya houses, which is 3, 6, 10, and 11 houses, are generally said to be giving benefic results in the Rahu and Ketu Mahadasha, if Rahu and Ketu are placed in Upachaya houses. And they give negative results if they are placed in non-Upachaya houses. So this was the hypothesis to check whether this holds true or not. Now, the subject of the research is to determine whether the results of Rahu Ketu Mahadashas align to the expectations set by the texts available. Now, hypothesis, Rahu Ketu give positive results when placed in Upachaya houses during their Mahadasha period. So this was the subject of the research. Now, so this is just a brief idea about what kind of data I have picked up. So I got 8 actors, 3 actresses, comedians, industrialists, politicians, singer, spiritual gurus, sports person, and stockbrokers. So I tried to cover as many as possible professions. Data collection and organization. So as I said, I tried to cover all the placements. So I got 1, 7, 2, 8, 3, 9, 4, 10, and so on. Number of cases also. I've given the number of cases that I could get for each of the placement that is shown. Now, so before going to the data analysis part of it, I would just try to elaborate further upon what Upachaya and non-Upachaya houses are, and why Rahu Ketu act the way they act. So as I said, the starting point was I always struggled to figure out how the Mahadasha period would be for people, or for that matter even Antardasha periods. Now, the idea is that when you look at 3, 6, 10, and 11 houses, these are Upachaya houses, and what we say is that these are the houses, one, which are linked to your previous births, and secondly, they give results. They give good results over a period of time, right? So one thing that you would generally see is that these are not the people who will start getting, they'll start getting positive results immediately after they are born. These are the people who will start getting better with time. So one of the examples would be Virat Kohli. He started getting better with time. His Rahu Mahadasha started getting better with time, and he started. Now he's reached to a point where he's at the acme of his cricketing skills. But the period of his growth was the period of Rahu Mahadasha. Right. So these are the planets. As I said, they give you a platform. They start giving you good results over time, and you can continue to grow over a period of time. Similarly, Ketu, one thing that I've also seen about Ketu is that Rahu can, will generally give you a rags to riches kind of a story, whereas Ketu would generally not give you those kind of results. Ketu would generally give you a platform during its Mahadasha, and which you can use in the next Mahadasha, which is going to be the Venus Mahadasha, if Venus is well placed, to reap the benefits of what you have learned during the Ketu Mahadasha. Okay, so that is what I've seen, and this is happening in 3, 6, 10, and 11 houses, which is the Upachaya houses. Non-Upachaya houses, they have generally not given good results. They have generally given negative results, at least to do with the professional life, because the information available on the net was about the professional life of these people. Now, so if you look at this data analysis, 30 placements are in Upachaya houses. So if Rahu is in Upachaya house, let's say 3rd house, then Ketu is going to be 9th house. So only one of them is in Upachaya house. If you look at 4th house, Rahu is in 4th house, and Ketu is in 10th house. So Ketu is in Upachaya, whereas Rahu is not. Right. So I would have only considered the planet which is in Upachaya house or in non-Upachaya house, and I've seen the whether they have done well or not. Now, just to give an example of how Rahu and Ketu can completely turn your life into being very rich to very poor, and vice versa. So if you look at Harshad Mehta, he was going through a Ketu Mahadasha when he was at the peak, and when he died as well. So after being held responsible for the scam, and then he was put behind the bars. There was a case going on. Then he had to, then he lost his life as well. Right. So that kind of thing can happen during Rahu Ketu Mahadasha, as well as somebody like, as I said, Virat Kohli, who from nowhere he became like so big. There are many other examples, many actors. If you know about Hrithik Roshan had multiple sclerosis during his Ketu Mahadasha. As soon as the Ketu Mahadasha ended for him, he did Kahona Pyare, and the physical ailment that he was facing, he came out of it, became a great actor, and got all the success in life. Right. So Rahu and Ketu Mahadasha can turn your life completely into being from nowhere, from being nobody to somebody, and vice versa. And as I said, if you look at the correlation, so in this case, these are 30 Upachaya houses placements. Expected outcome was positive in 24 out of 30. Average outcome was 4, and reverse outcome was 2. So there were 2 situations when the results were not good, when the Rahu or Ketu was placed in an Upachaya house, and the Rahu Ketu Mahadasha was running, and still the native did not get very good results. And there are reasons why it would have happened so. Similarly, if you go to the next slide, which is the non-Upachaya houses. So 20 times out of those 50 records that I picked up, the placement was in non-Upachaya houses. Expected outcome was negative, which was true in 10 cases, 50%. Average outcome was 6, and reverse outcome was 4. Now, why it has happened that some of the cases had reverse outcome as well, or average outcome in some certain cases, is because of the exceptions that that would be there in the chart. So we'll look into those exceptions after this slide. Now, if you look at the correlation part of it, so I did a little bit of statistical correlation for these records. So correlation of 98% indicates that Rahu and Ketu give positive results when placed in Upachaya houses. Now, again, as I think most of you have already mentioned, that the limitation of the study is that we have looked at 50 sample records, right? So when I say 98% of the times Rahu and Ketu will give positive results, it comes with a caveat that there may be different situations where this correlation may not work, right? But most of the times, Rahu and Ketu will give good results in Upachaya houses. So that is what we can infer. Similarly, if you look at the correlation of non-Upachaya houses and Rahu Ketu outcome, it is negative 90% of the times. Right. So most of the times, Rahu and Ketu will give negative results when they are in non-Upachaya houses during their Mahadasha period. Right. Now, a lot of you may think that it is too simplistic to think that Rahu and Ketu will give results in a certain way. What about whether it's a dual house, or whether it's a fixed house, or whether it is a non-fixed house, or whether it is placed with a planet or it is not placed with a planet. So I think the study was done with a view to also capture those exceptions. So if in case there are things which have happened which were not which you're not able to explain, I did a second level of analysis, and we looked through different aspects, whether Rahu and Ketu are exalted, debilitated, whether there's a conjunction with a negative planet, with a malefic planet. So all those extra areas were covered. I also looked at the Bhava chart to make sure that the planets have not shifted from one house to another house, which would mean a non-Upachaya would become an Upachaya and vice versa. So I looked at all those aspects and then came up with the exceptions, which might reduce the correlation that we see today for these 50 sample records. Okay, so let's go to the last slide, which is the conclusion. Now, how hypothesis is that Rahu Ketu give good results in Upachaya and bad results in non-Upachaya houses. Hypothesis proves to be true, as the correlation between outputs and the placement in Rahu Ketu in Upachaya house is giving positive outcome, and has a correlation coefficient of 98%, and in non-Upachaya houses, correlation coefficient of 89%, giving negative results. So hypothesis-wise, I think whatever texts have said about, and as I said, Rahu Ketu, the texts are not very consistent. They have got different opinions about it. So again, that's why Rahu Ketu related research is useful always. So whatever we have read about Upachaya and non-Upachaya houses for these two planets, not two planets, two shadowy planets, is true. That is one. And but there were exceptions that we will look into right now. Okay, so these are the exceptions to the hypothesis. One is the dispositor of the zodiac. So now, let's say you have a Rahu which is placed in second house, and the dispositor is, and it's a Cancer Lagna chart. Second house is Sun. Sun is the Lord, and Sun is exalted, for example, and Rahu is placed in in second house. You will generally see that these people will be excellent speakers because second house is also representing your speech. Rahu is amplifying that speech, and because the dispositor is Sun, which is exalted, gives you all the confidence to speak. Okay, so it's not going to give you bad results for Rahu plays in a non-Upachaya house in those situations. So dispositor plays a very big role. So whichever house Rahu is placed in, if the dispositor is very well placed, it may give you average results, or it may give you better results than what you were expecting it, being it in a non-Upachaya house. So that's one. Secondly, benefics aspecting Rahu and Ketu will improve the results. So let's say Jupiter is aspecting Rahu, or Jupiter is aspecting Ketu, right? That will improve the result that you will see during the Mahadasha period for these two shadowy planets. Whereas malefics, like you have a Mars aspecting a Ketu, or Mars aspecting a Rahu, is going to give you worse results than what you would be expecting during the Mahadasha of Rahu and Ketu. So that's about the aspects. Nakshatra in which Rahu and Ketu are placed. So nakshatra also play their part. So if Rahu and Ketu are placed in a nakshatra which is not anemic to these planets or shadowy planets, then you get decent result. Or if it is placed in, let's say, Jupiter, so Ketu placed in Jupiter may not give you such bad results as it would give if it is placed in a Saturn's nakshatra, for example. Right, so nakshatra plays a part as well. Then relationship with dispositor and nakshatra lord will also have an impact. For example, friendly relations with zodiac lord or nakshatra lord with Rahu Ketu will improve the outcome of, or enhance the outcome. Kal Sarpadosha. I saw this again. I remember this because of Harshad Mehta. So Harshad Mehta had Ketu Mahadasha running in from 1988 to 1990, 1995, 96. So during that period, if you remember, he in 1992 he was considered the Amitabh Bachchan of stock markets. So he was at his peak during the Ketu Mahadasha. He had Kal Sarpadosha, and you see how he declined from where he was to in tatters in the next few years because of the scandal that happened. So Kal Sarpadosha, I've seen a couple of examples where people do reach to a certain level of success, and then they are brought back down to even more. I mean, it's more difficult for people to survive a decline when they have reached to a very high level, right? So that kind of a decline is what people have seen when it is Kal Sarpadosha. And in this case it was an Upachaya house as well, but still it did not work because of the Kal Sarpadosha. Rahu Ketu, when exalted, debilitated, can also change the outcome. So Rahu Ketu, when they're exalted, again there are differences in opinion about when Rahu and Ketu are exalted. A lot of people say Gemini and Sagittarius. A lot of people also say it is Taurus and Scorpio. A lot of people say it's a reverse. So it is 9 and 3 versus 3 and 9. So basically Ketu being in Ketu being in Gemini and Rahu being in Sagittarius is exaltation for these two shadowy planets. So opinions are different about Rahu and Ketu, but I have considered Gemini and Sagittarius, Gemini for Rahu and Sagittarius for Ketu, being the placements of exaltation for these two shadowy planets. Okay, so yeah, that brings me to the end of the presentation. Yeah, open for questions.
Namaste, sir. Your
Namaskar, sir.
research is very interesting in terms of Rahu and Ketu, the positions of planets in the D1 chart. So my question is, if Rahu or Ketu becomes the Vargotama planet, then how it would affect the person's life?
Okay, so Vargotama planet, I have not considered Vargotama planet. But okay. Yeah, I mean, I have not considered that aspect, whether if Rahu and Ketu are Vargotma, but given that the principle is that Vargotma planet will never ever give bad results to a person, and given going by that principle, I would assume that it will at least give average results and not bad results when it is a Vargotma planet. Yeah.
Fine. Your success ratio in terms of percentage is very good, and I'm happy that you have used the hypothesis testing in your research, which is very much needed in today's generation to understand much better about the Rahu and Ketu position, because as you said in your presentation that they don't have the lordship of any of the Bhava or any of the zodiac sign. So I appreciate your efforts on the scientific method on the hypothesis testing. And also
Sure.
I congratulate you for the highest success ratio I have ever seen, that is 98%. And it is very much impressive. So congratulations for your endeavors.
Sure.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Yes. Any questions from participation is welcome. Okay, fine, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Next, Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Janani Janma Saukyanam Vardhane Kula Sampadam Padavim Purvapunam Likyate Patrika. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvante Amrita Kalasastaya Sarva Vinasanaya Vailokyaya Sri Mahavishnave Namo Namaha. Good all. My name is Lakshmi Narayan from Andhra Pradesh, near Tirupati. My research topic name is how to find diabetics using Vedic male astrology. Here, what is diabetes? Diabetes is the disease. It occurs when blood glucose or sugar level is too high. Means fasting sugar more than 110 and fasting post lunch fasting blood sugar is more than 60. This situation arises blood sugar in our body. The diabetics is three. Diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and type 3 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, we must and should carry insulin to manage this situation. And type 2 diabetes, we can manage situation depending upon our food and physical activities. Type 3 diabetes is diabetes. It arises during the pregnancy, after pregnancy, after delivery. Type 3 diabetics will automatically recover. This is the type of diabetics. Next, we go to the reason for diabetics depending upon the astrology point of view. Number one, as per KP system, Venus first and sixth house, person may suffer from diabetics. Point number two, as per law, position in first and eighth house may cause diabetics to the person. Point number three, as Jataka Parijata Venus present in eighth place, affected by inauspicious planets may diabetics. Point number four, as per Shana Marga, Lagnadipati occupied in auspicious planet also cause the diabetics. So, this is the medical astrology point of view. We can easily identify the diabetics for the respective person. And finally, how to manage the diabetics and how to prevent the diabetics. Depending upon the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Yukta Haravikas, Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu, Yukta Swapnava Bhasya, Yogo Bhavati Dukkaha. Depending upon this sloga is present in 6th chapter, in Bhagavad Gita, 16th sloka. This sloka explains moderate diet, physical activity, moderate sleep, moderate work involvement to prevent diabetics. मध्यम नींद, मध्यम आहार, मध्यम कार्य व्यवस्था, मध्यम व्यायाम से मधुमेह को रोकता जा सकता है. This is my I explain in simple manner, sir. That's all.
Okay, sir, what is the success ratio of your research, sir? How far you are getting success in your predictions in the like diabetic?
Yes, sir. Depend. I collect 50 charts from diabetic persons. This success rate is 90%, sir.
90 plus. Okay, okay, very good, sir. Fine. Sir, the
He
particular
got
issue.
more dots. That means parallel in Tamil. Ashtavarga chakra. Agnari got more than 25. The person immune. D1 சக்கரத்தையும் D27 சக்கரத்தையும் கம்பேர் பண்ணியிருக்கிறேன். D1 சக்கரத்துல ஒருவேளை சுக்கிர பகவான் உச்சஸ்தானத்துல சுக்கிர பகவானும் குரு பகவானும் தான் இந்த சுகர் வர்றதுக்கான வாய்ப்புகள் அதிகமா ஏற்படுத்துறாங்க சார். ஒருவேளை D1 சார்ட்ல குரு உச்சஸ்தானத்துல வாட்டரி சைனான கர்க்கடக ராசியில இருந்தாலும் உச்சஸ்தானம் இருந்தா அவங்களுக்கு டயபிட்டிஸ் வர்றதுக்கான வாய்ப்பு. இதுவே அந்த D27 சார்ட்னு சொல்லக்கூடிய பாவத்துல ஒருவேளை ராகு கேதுடையோ இல்ல வாட்டர் இருந்தாலோ அவங்களுக்கு டயபிட்டிஸ் வர்றதை நம்ம பார்க்க முடியுது. அதனாலதான் நான் D27 இங்க கம்பேர் பண்ணி ப்ரிடிக்ஷன்ன்றது கொடுத்துருக்கிறேன் சார்.
Okay. The combination of Jupiter and Venus is giving the highest success ratio for the diabetics. Okay, fine. Sir, is there any remedy in the Vedic literature to overcome this particular like health issue? We have
yes, sir.
We have different types of remedy and நிறைய remedy இருக்கு. அதுல வந்து as per your knowledge,
yes,
which is the best remedy to overcome the diabetic?
சார் இப்போ வந்து நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டுல ஒரு டெம்பிள் இருக்கு சார், திருவெண்ணியூர் ஒரு டெம்பிள். அந்த டெம்பிள் நம்ம பூஜை பண்றதால சிவபெருமானுக்கு நீர் நோய்ன்றது கண்ட்ரோல் ஆகும்னு சொல்றாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் ஸ்ரீகம் இருக்கக்கூடிய தன்வந்திரி பீடத்தாலையும் டயபிட்டிஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் ஆகப்படுது. பகவத்கீதையில கிருஷ்ண பகவான் சொன்ன மாதிரி மிதமான உறக்கம், மிதமான உணவு, அந்த உடற்பயிற்சி, மிதமான வேலையில் ஈடுபாடு, இதனால டயபெட்டிக்குமே வராதுன்னு ஸ்ரீகிருஷ்ணர் ஏற்கனவே நமக்கு சொல்லியிருக்கிறார். இத ஒரு மெடிக்கல் கான்ஃபரன்ஸ்ல பிரசன்ட் இருக்கிறத நான் பாக்குறேன். சோ இந்த மாதிரியான ஒரு விஷயம் நம்ம வந்து பிராக்டிகலா டயபெட்டிக்ஸ வராம தடுக்கலாம். வந்த பிறகு பயிற்சி செய்யறது, அதே மாதிரி குரு சம்பந்தப்பட்ட பூஜைகள் செய்தாலையும், தானங்கள், சக்தி அனுச்சாரம், சுக்கிர பகவான் சம்பந்தப்பட்ட பூஜை செய்யறதாலையும், தானங்கள் செய்யறதாலையும் அந்த ஒரு தீவிரத்தை நம்ம குறைக்கும்ன்றது என்னுடைய கருத்து.
Okay, fine, sir. So already it is written in Bhagavad Gita what is to be done. முன்னாடி எழுதப்பட்டிருக்கு. Okay, fine.
இது வந்து இதுல ஒரு ஆச்சரியமான என்னன்னா, ஒரு மெடிக்கல் கான்ஃபரன்ஸ்ல ஒரு, அதாவது நம்ம ரிலீஜன் பத்தி பேசல, ஒரு மெடிக்கல் கான்ஃபரன்ஸ்ல அமெரிக்கால இருந்து வந்த ஒரு கிறிஸ்தவத்தை சேர்ந்தவர் வந்து ஒரு சிரிப்போட சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கிறார், பகவத்கீதையில சொல்லப்பட்டிருக்கிறது இவங்க எல்லாம் மறந்துட்டாங்க, அதனால எனக்கு சுகர் வந்து இந்தியா நம்பர் 1 பொசிஷன்ல சுகர்ல இருக்கு, டயபெட்டிக்ஸ்ல. ஸ்லோகத்தை ஃபாலோ பண்ணா கண்டிப்பா உங்களுக்கு சுகர் வராது, அதை இவங்களுக்கு தெரியலன்னு சொன்ன பிறகு ஒரே ஆச்சரியமாய் போச்சுக்காரங்க. அதனால என்னுடைய பாயிண்ட் என்னன்னா, நம்ம அந்த வாக்கியத்தை 6வது அத்தியாயத்துல 16வது ஸ்லோகத்துல இருக்கு. யுக்தா அதிகாரஸ்ய யுக்த கர்து யுக்த ஸ்வப்னாவபோதய நம்ம டயபெட்டிக்ஸ் சொல்லலாம். ஏன்னா இப்போ மெடிக்கல் டெர்மினாலஜி பிரகாரமா ஃபாஸ்டிங் அதிகமா சாப்பிடவும் கூடாது, அதிகமா தூங்கவும் இருக்கவும் கூடாது, ரொம்ப அதிகமா எக்ஸசைஸ் பண்ணவும் கூடாது, எக்ஸசைஸ் பண்ணாம இருக்க கூடாதுன்னு தான் இப்ப நமக்கு டாக்டர்ஸ் எல்லாம் கூட இந்த டயபெட்டிக்ஸ்க்கு மெயினா நமக்கு சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிறார். இதை நம்ம கிருஷ்ணர் எப்படி சொல்லிட்டாரு, ரொம்ப நல்ல கருத்து.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful research, sir. Thank you. Any questions from the participants? Okay. Sir, Amit sir, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am ready, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, please. You can share your screen if you have any options, sir.
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay.
Is it visible, sir? Hello?
Hello.
Is it visible, sir?
Sir, you can share your screen.
I have shared my screen. Is it visible? I'm Shastri. My screen is visible to you, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. Can you see the presentation, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Very much clear, sir.
Okay, sir.
Mr.
So,
Tarun, you can close your window sharing. Tarun sir's slides are visible.
Yes, sir.
Sir, your slide is visible. Could you stop sharing your screen so that Amit sir's screen will be
Sure,
shared?
sure.
Yes, please.
Sure, sure, sure. It's not letting. Okay, I'll leave the meeting and join it again. I don't know why it's not letting me.
Amit sir, I think we have very
yes,
less
sir.
time for the presentation.
Yes, yes.
The issue is the time will get end by next 6 minutes. Okay, sir. So we will rejoin, sir.
Okay,
I will
okay,
give you good time for your presentation, sir. We will rejoin, and I think yours is the last presentation, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, if you give me 10-20 minutes, then I can present right now, sir. You allow
Okay.
me.
We have only 6 minutes. That is the issue.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So,
We will
as you say,
rejoin,
sir.
sir. We
As
will
you say.
rejoin. Don't worry, sir. I'll give you good time. We
Okay,
will
sir.
rejoin, sir. Okay, right.
Okay.